My name is Kerrie, and my goal is to inspire healing and meaning in all areas of life. In this podcast, we will dive deep into conversations. From heartbreak to freedom, we will explore different self-care modalities, learn to be the best expressions of ourselves, and to live with purpose. I'm here to offer my personal insights and to share my story in hopes that it will guide you on your path. This is Heal with Care, a journey of self-discovery. One day I got an unexpected invitation to join a mediumship circle. I was told it would help open up my intuitive abilities. At the time, I had no idea how any of this worked. And now I get asked all the time, how does it work? And is it even real? Or is this a scam? All very legit questions because even I had the same questions at the beginning of my journey. So today, I'm going to set the record straight and I'm going to share my personal experience and what I've learned along the way, and leaving it up to you to decide for yourself what you want to believe. So I was told that we are all psychic and that anyone can learn to connect with spirit. So let's talk about spirits for a moment here, because so many people instantly associate spirits with ghosts. And I get it. I grew up watching a lot of TV too, and Hollywood has done a great job of making ghosts seem super terrifying. Maybe horror movies come to mind with images of disfigured figures, demons, maybe dark entities. But in my experience, it's nothing like that. It's not scary at all. In fact, the information that I receive comes from a place of love, which I simply like to call spirit. So before I decide I want to formally connect with spirit, I always set the intention to only connect with loving energies that are here for my highest and greatest good. Or if I'm doing a reading for someone, I set the intention for the highest and greatest good of the person that I'm reading for. And that loving energy could include loved ones who have passed on, spirit guides, angels, or even your higher self, which is the pure essence of who you are beyond your earthly ego. If it makes it easier for you, you can just sum all of this up and say that you are connecting with your intuition. In the end, I believe that loving energy will always be there guiding you. Doesn't matter who it's from. So how does it all work? First of all, you have to be aware when you are being guided. Or what I found to be super helpful for me is to develop a connection with spirit. For some people, that connection is strong and natural for various reasons. For some of us, we can take the time to actually develop this connection. For me, I didn't think I had any natural abilities, so I went the route of actually learning to develop. What I discovered is that I had this connection all along. It just took me a while to relearn how to access it. I needed to learn to quiet my busy mind, setting it aside to make space for messages to drop in from spirit. Some messages are clear as day, while others can be very subtle. And most importantly, I have to trust the messages that are coming through. And as simple as this may sound, trusting the messages is often the hardest part, because at first it feels like you're making things up. But through practice, you'll learn how to recognize when something is coming from spirit versus your own mind. So how do you know when spirit is dropping information into your mind? So let's take a step back and talk about string of thought. For example, I'm talking with some of my friends about dogs. I might suddenly start thinking about my own dog, which reminds me I need to buy pet food, which then makes me think of my sister who also has a dog. And then I wonder, what kind of pet food is she buying for her dog? Maybe I need to look into that. As you can see, there's a natural flow of connected thoughts. One thought triggers another thought. And that's how our mind works. So when spirit decides to drop a message in, it's different. It feels like it comes out of nowhere. There is no connection to what you were just thinking. It's a total change of subject. For example, before learning about mediumship and intuition, out of the blue, I heard, find a meditation group. It's not a subject I was actively interested in. It wasn't something that I cared to do. It was a random thought that kept popping into my mind, and it didn't stop until I found a meditation group. This is one way to know that you're connecting with spirit. It's that out of the blue thought. So, is connecting with spirit even real? Can people really do this? Let me share my experience. I showed up to the mediumship circle every week. It was fun and exciting. We would work on different intuitive exercises. We would work with each other to pass on messages, validating for each other if any of it made sense or not. Though I was having fun, I was still looking for some hard evidence that this was real. Like, was it real or not? In my early years, I visited different psychics and mediums, always choosing someone new, someone who knew nothing about me. These were complete strangers who I had never met before. They had absolutely no time to research me. I would just show up. I walked in for a reading. I received the same messages usually, and one of the messages that I got frequently was that I was meant to do this work that they were also doing. At different stages of my life, different psychics and mediums echoed back the same message, but I kept avoiding it. And stepping into this path meant confronting my fear of being seen and putting myself out there. And that's not always easy. But what was interesting was that when I would sit with a medium, there was something that consistently happened. I don't have many loved ones on the other side who have passed, yet there was one person who almost always seemed to come through. And it was a good friend of mine who had passed away very young. Time and time again, they would show up in my readings, almost to remind me that I'm not alone on this journey and that they were present. Do you think this is a coincidence? On the other side of it all, I realized that I can serve as a communicator for the world of spirit, helping to pass on messages to others, because sometimes we struggle to connect on our own. Maybe we doubt our intuition or we second guess the messages we've already received. Sometimes we just need that extra validation, so we see someone else. But as the reader, as the messenger, I'm still human. My mind naturally tries to piece things together to make sense of what is coming through. And that's where things can get a little tricky, because the moment you try to make sense of a message, you risk misinterpreting it. So let me give you an example. During one reading, I kept seeing laundry in a happy family. Spirit showed it to me repeatedly. I had no context. I didn't know anything about my sitter. Later, I learned that they had recently left their job to stay at home and take care of the household. And interestingly, laundry was something they genuinely enjoyed doing. It wasn't just a chore. It was a symbol of their new path. The message wasn't random. It was spirit validating their situation so that they would be able to take the messages that I had for them. In another reading, I kept seeing a snake and a stick. Spirit showed them to me separately, and I wasn't sure what that meant. But to the sitter, it made perfect sense. It was a personal connection to their loved one who had left behind a stick that was made from a snake. That moment of recognition was very powerful, proving once again that these messages, even when they seem very unclear to me, often hold deep meaning for the person who is receiving them. What I've learned is that when something doesn't make sense, it almost always makes perfect sense to the person that I'm reading for. And that's why not all readings are 100% accurate, because spirit works through the lens of the reader's experience to communicate messages. That's also why not every reader is for everyone. Intuitively, whether we realize it or not, we're usually drawn to the right person at the right time. And for some people, they may want a reading to have someone tell them exactly what to do. But in this world, we're giving so much free will and free choice to choose to do what we want to do with our life and what we want to do with this information. And even though you may have gentle guidance from spirits, The person receiving the reading may not be ready to hear this information. Therefore, they'll probably dismiss it until they're ready to hear it. For me, the essence of Spirit's messages is about allowing it to come through without filtering too much, without overanalyzing, and just trusting that what Spirit is providing is what is meant to be shared in this moment in time. Spirit also knows how to get your attention. So if you're on the other end being read, Spirit is also working with you so that you can understand the messages. Sometimes they use simple references that the sitter will understand right away. As someone communicating, I try not to put too much emphasis or my own spin on things because then I will end up skewing the message altogether. So let's touch on how we can connect with Spirit or how we can tap into our intuition. So we experience the world through many different ways. For most of us, we can experience it through sight, sound, taste, smell, and touch. And these are our physical senses that will help us to really explore the world. And when we are connecting with Spirit, we will be using our spiritual senses. So for myself, I tend to receive a lot of images. And when I close my eyes, I see them through my mind's eye, almost like an unclear negative from a film. If I stare off into the distance, the images may appear like a daydream. When I hear words, they sound like my own voice inside my head. It's not an external voice that it sounds like it's right next to you, but it's more of a subtle internal voice. Sometimes, along with images, I can experience different feelings or emotions. For example, I may see a loved one who I may feel or sense shyness. And if I'm not typically a timid or shy person, this is definitely a spirit communicating how they were in life. So depending on what senses you want to work on, you may want to start flexing this muscle and also noticing when something unexpected drops into your awareness. So if you're a visual person, try closing your eyes and picturing your room where everything is placed. Visualize the colors, any textures around you. Or what you can do is just close your eyes and create a sacred space in your imagination. Just start creating a space that you think you'd enjoy. So that's just one of the exercises that you can try if you want to work on your visualizations. And then actually just sit with yourself and sit in silence and wait for something to drop in. Ask your intuition or ask Spirit to give you something that you can validate in the future. And if there's an image that pops up, great. Then maybe you can look out for this in the future, or maybe it's something that you will see later in the day. So that would be a fun little exercise that you can try. And if you want to work on hearing Spirit or hearing your intuition, try asking a question either aloud or in your head and wait silently to see if you get an answer. Or if you lost something and you're struggling to find it and need an answer right now, you might be surprised how much information you can get. And the truth is, all these answers are very accessible to us. So I want to give you an example of how I was able to connect with my intuition and hear it very loud and clear. So one day I dropped my dog off at a dog sitter, and later when I went to pick him up, I received his leash back completely knotted up. I had a biothane leash, which is made of a rubbery, durable material, and the knots that were created with this from it being attached to my dog and my dog pulling was very, very tight. So I tried everything. I tried pushing a chopstick through to loosen up the knot, didn't budge. Pulling the knots out with my hands, like trying to really get it going so that it would come undone, nothing worked. I was so frustrated because I had just bought this leash. It was new. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to pause. I'm going to take a breath. And I said, how can I get out this knot? And within 10 seconds, I heard, use soap. And I was like, use soap? Anyways, instead of questioning it any further, I followed the guidance. I grabbed a bit of dish soap and I rubbed it on the knot. And within seconds, the soap and water just kind of loosened up that knot and it came undone. And I was blown away. The moment this happened, it reaffirmed how much I was connected to my intuition. And I just had to ask. It was so simple. I've done this when I misplaced my wallet and I was looking for it for a week. I had even contacted all the credit card companies to cancel my credit cards because I thought I lost it. And then one day I just sat there and I was asking, where is my wallet? I had totally forgotten I had put it in my glove compartment in my car. So another exercise I like to do for sensing and feeling energy is to sit quietly in a room and just notice how you feel. And then what you can do is you can do this exercise, which I like to call calling back all my energy I've given away through the day. So you can set the intention to call back your energy so that you can feel whole again and sit until you feel like all your energy has returned to you. And then once you've done that, you can experiment with expanding your energy and pulling your energy back and see how that feels like. Play with it and observe any shifts. Sometimes I like to talk aloud to my guides and ask them to allow me to experience different sensations. It's a great way to build awareness and trust in the unseen world around us. And once you start strengthening your spiritual senses, you'll begin to notice when spirit drops you a message or a nudge or in a certain direction. One of my favorite ways to discern if something is right for me is simply tuning in. How does this feel? Does this light me up? Do I feel closed off and disconnected? Pay attention to your energy, and if it feels expansive, it's likely a yes. And if it feels tight and contracted, it's more than likely a no. So, can people really connect with spirit, or is it a scam? From my personal experience, I've had too many moments of undeniable connections to doubt that spirit is real. I've witnessed others connect in ways that are just mind-blowing. And with that said, there are genuine and kind-hearted people doing this work, and unfortunately, those who also take advantage of other people. I recently read an article about someone who paid thousands and thousands of dollars to a psychic who promised that their crush would fall in love with them. And that kind of promise is not only unethical, but it's really misleading. In all the work that I've done, I firmly believe that each of us have free will. We create our own destiny. A psychic can't magically make someone fall in love with you. Imagine if you were made to fall in love with someone you had no interest in. That means your free will is stripped away and you no longer have a choice. It works both ways. I often try to put myself in someone else's shoes. And while we all have dreams, when it comes to relationships, we must respect the decisions of others. We can't make anyone do anything they don't want to do. You only have control over your own choices and decisions. What I've experienced in my readings is that spirit offers guidance, clarity, and healing. Messages come through that read your energy, highlighting your potential, and it can bring peace, hope, and validation that you're on the right path. At the end of the day, it's up to you to decide what you believe. Maybe trying some of these exercises will open up your awareness to your intuition, or maybe not, and that's okay too. I'm not here to convince anyone, just to share some of my own experiences with you. Tapping into your intuition isn't about having all the answers or proving anything to anyone. It's about trust. It's about quieting the noise, tuning in, and noticing those subtle nudges, that quiet whisper guiding you in the direction meant for you. Whether you see, hear, feel, or simply know, your intuition is present, waiting for you to take aligned action. The more you lean into it, the clearer it becomes, And as it becomes clearer, your confidence in making decisions grows. Joining that mediumship circle opened my intuition and connected me to something greater. So the real question is, what experiences have you had with your intuition? Can you sense it? Have you ever had that feeling when you ignored it and later thought, I should have listened? Whether we listen or not, when we learn to trust, life seems to unfold naturally in our favor, as if someone was watching over us. Are you willing to listen? Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you feel called to, please share this podcast, subscribe to it, and leave a rating and review. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email me at healwithcare@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram at healwithcare. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode.